The earliest signs of unrest among the Anunnaki emerged within the working class once known as the Igigi, later infamous across ages as the fallen angels. This turmoil surfaced in Bad Tibera, the grand Atlantean industrial hub devoted to Ninurta. Under the watchful eyes of their royal and elite overseers, the Igigi toiled relentlessly, refining and smelting precious gold extracted from the Abzu, the ancient mines of southern Africa. Yet, amid the clang of molten metal and the constant drone of the forges, whispers of discontent began to ripple through the ranks. Here, Ninurta, the warrior son of Enlil, kept a watchful eye on the operations, ensuring the steady flow of gold needed to sustain their mission. Yet, something was amiss. The once consistent shipments from the mines had begun to dwindle, and the reports reaching his ears carried an unsettling tone. A murmur of discontent, like a distant storm gathering strength, rippled through the ranks of the toiling laborers. Unlike Ninurta, who had only just begun hearing the troubling reports, Enki had been dealing with the mounting grievances firsthand. He had seen the weariness in the eyes of his workers, heard the whispers of dissent grow bolder, and sensed the volatile tension that thickened the very air of the mines. Upon reaching the Abzu in Southeast Africa, Ninurta was met with a grim sight. The Anunnaki miners, who had once carried out their duties with silent resilience, now moved with sluggish, weary steps. Their bodies, once strong and unyielding, bore the marks of exhaustion. Their hands, once firm and precise in their craft, trembled from overwork. One among them, braver than the rest, stepped forward. His face was lined with fatigue, his voice hoarse from both labor and suppressed anger. "The work is unbearable, my lord," he said, his words carrying the weight of countless others who stood behind him. "We toil endlessly in these depths, our strength spent, our spirits crushed. How much longer must we endure this torment?" Ninurta knew the truth of his words. He saw it in their hollow eyes, in the way their bodies sagged under the invisible weight of their suffering. It was not mere laziness or defiance. This was a breaking point. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Ninurta wasted no time in reporting his findings to Enki. Enki had long been aware of the growing strain, yet until now, he had taken no decisive action. Now, as Ninurta laid bare the dire state of the workforce, Enki saw the urgency reflected in his nephew's expression. The matter could no longer be ignored. Summoning Enlil, the Lord of Command, Enki urged him to witness the suffering firsthand. The supreme authority of the Anunnaki, the one who had decreed the mining operations in the first place, had to see what had become of his very own decree. When Enlil arrived at the Abzu, he did so with the full weight of his authority, establishing his glorious house near the excavation sites as a symbol. His presence, however, did little to ease the growing resentment. If anything, it served as a reminder of their subjugation. There had been no announcements of rest for several shahs, and day by day, the resolve of the working class weakened. There were no women, no promises from the king, only the prince, whose temperament many disliked. For a time, the Igigi contemplated mutiny. What might have transpired on such a fateful day remains unknown. However, during this period, numerous climatic cataclysms placed an even greater burden on the workers in the gold mines. But far above, Enlil was at ease. His grand residence stood untouched by struggle, a palace of towering white walls illuminated by soft golden light. The corridors stretched endlessly, adorned with intricate carvings of celestial wars and divine conquest. Enlil moved through them without hurry, his footsteps echoing in the stillness. In one hand, he held a simple glass of water, sipping leisurely as he admired the towering views of his domain. He passed into his personal chamber, where the silence wrapped around him like a second skin. A golden bath awaited, its surface rippling with a warm, glowing essence. He set the glass aside and stepped in, sinking into the soothing warmth. The tension in his muscles faded, the weight of his station momentarily forgotten. He let his fingers glide through the liquid, watching the luminescent swirls shift around him. After the bath, he moved to a long, polished table where a platter of fruits and spiced bread awaited. He took his time, peeling apart a soft fruit, letting its sweetness linger on his tongue. The distant hum of the city drifted in through the windows, hovering ships gliding through the sky, the rhythmic pulse of energy flowing through the structures below. He crossed the room, stopping before a vast, golden-framed mirror. His reflection stared back, calm, composed. With a quiet sigh, he turned away, walking toward the meditation chamber. The walls pulsed faintly as he sat before a massive circular gateway, its carvings shifting like living script. He closed his eyes, slowing his breath, centering himself in the stillness. Eventually, he rose and made his way to his sleeping quarters. A massive bed awaited him, its dark silken sheets cool against his skin. He lay back, exhaling deeply, the weight of the day, however light, dissipating into the stillness. The distant hum of the city faded, the golden glow of the walls dimming into a soft twilight. His eyes grew heavy, his breath slowed. And as the Igigi toiled beneath the earth, Enlil drifted into deep slumber, his consciousness sinking into the vast currents of eternity. Nibiru called to him in his dreams, and when he opened his eyes, he found himself standing in the gardens of Agade, a time before chaos, before betrayal. The air was thick with the scent of sacred resins. Golden trees swayed gently under a sky of burnished copper, and crystalline fountains whispered their ageless songs. The beauty of Agade was unmarred by the decay of Nibiru's dying atmosphere. Beneath an archway of flowering vines stood Antu, the Queen Mother, regal and unshaken by time. Her silver hair cascaded over embroidered robes of deep violet and gold, her piercing eyes watching him with the knowing wisdom of ages. Enlil approached her, his thoughts weighed by the turmoil brewing in his soul. "You are troubled, my son," Antu said, studying him closely. Enlil exhaled sharply. "Father has done something reckless." Antu's gaze did not waver. "What has Anu done?" "He has made contact with Alalu." A storm passed over Antu's face. The traitor, the snake. What treachery does he now weave? "He lives," Enlil said through gritted teeth. "He fled to the world called Ki, what the primitives will call Earth in ages to come. He claims he has uncovered vast deposits of gold, enough to restore our world." Antu narrowed her eyes. "Alalu's tongue is as forked as the serpents he reveres. His exile was no mistake. His thirst for the throne would have drowned us all in war." "And yet father listens," Enlil spat, anger rising. "Anu considers his offer, believing that the traitor's so-called solution could mend the breaches in our failing skies." Antu sighed. "Your father is bound by duty. He seeks salvation for his people, as do we all." Enlil stepped closer, his voice low and firm. "And what of Ninhursag? She has met with Enki in secret." Antu tilted her head. "Your jealousy betrays you, my son." Enlil's jaw tightened. "Enki schemes. He whispers in her ear, filling her heart with folly. He calls me rigid, unyielding, yet he is the one who would see Nibiru fall to its own chaos. I have earned her favor." Antu reached for Enlil's hand, her touch cool like the deep void of space. "Love cannot be won through conquest, Enlil. It must be given freely." Enlil withdrew his hand, his fists clenching. "She belongs to me." Antu sighed. "You forget yourself, child of the Serpent Kings. You are more than mere flesh and blood. You are of the draconian lineage. The blood of the ancient gods courses through you." Enlil stiffened, his mother's words stirring something deep within him. "Our kind," Antu continued, "was forged in the crucible of stars. We are the chosen rulers of worlds. Our ancestors believed in manifest destiny, the right to conquer, to expand, to bring order to the lesser races. It is our duty. It is our birthright." Her voice grew softer. "And yet in your anger you forget the most important lesson of all." Enlil frowned. "Which is?" Antu's eyes darkened. "That the great destroyer of kings is not war nor betrayal. It is the hunger for control." A low rumble trembled through the garden. The crystalline pools rippled, the sacred trees trembled, golden leaves falling into the air like dying embers. A sharp crack split the sky. Enlil turned his gaze upward. Beyond the garden's protective walls, the heavens were breaking. A deep, guttural roar echoed from the land itself. Meteorites streaked through the heavens, fire raining upon the once glorious city of Agade. Molten rock erupted from fissures, blackening the streets. A great skyship, one of the Nibiru-class levitation vessels, hovered above the palace, its golden hull reflecting the fiery skies. Plasma shields struggled to contain the destruction, flickering under the relentless barrage of falling debris. Enlil grabbed Antu's wrist. "We must go, now." They ran. The tranquil gardens dissolved into chaos. The sky turned blood red, burning stones hammering the city like the wrath of forgotten gods. Agade's golden spires collapsed, flames licking the sacred halls. The ground trembled violently beneath their feet. An elite Andromedan advisor, a six-fingered being of pale blue skin, darted past them, guiding a group of panicked nobles toward a hovering evacuation craft. Before they could reach it, a meteor the size of a tower struck the ship, sending its fragments cascading into the inferno below. Cries of terror filled the streets. The Nibiruan guard, clad in their Lyran-forged exosuits, activated their energy barriers, attempting to shield civilians from the onslaught. But it was futile. Buildings collapsed, the city's energy grid failing. Enlil and Antu dashed through the streets as the city burned. A child, barely past his first century, stood frozen amid the destruction. His mother had been crushed beneath a fallen obelisk, her hand still outstretched toward her son. "Save him," Antu cried. Enlil turned, his golden armor glinting beneath the firestorm. He lunged for the boy, but at that moment, the ground split open beneath them. Lava surged through the streets like a vengeful beast, consuming everything in its path. A deafening explosion split the air. Enlil turned just in time to see a colossal stone, a piece of the great palace itself, falling toward them. No. He pushed Antu forward. Too late. The massive slab crashed down, trapping Antu beneath the rubble. "Mother!" Enlil lunged, but another explosion sent him flying backward, his head striking the broken pavement. The world spun. Shadows engulfed his vision. The last thing he saw was Antu's outstretched hand beneath the rubble. And then, darkness. Outside Enlil's dreams and slumber, the frustration of the Igigi gods ignited into open rebellion. It began with hushed voices in the darkness, whispered words of defiance passing from one weary worker to the next. Then, the uprising began in the chambers of Igigi, the overseer who had long been the enforcer of their toil. A band of miners stormed his quarters, seizing him in the dead of night. They bound him with the same ropes that had once carried the mined ores. No longer would they submit in silence. No longer would they bend beneath the weight of their servitude. Then came the fire. The miners, emboldened by their shared defiance, gathered their tectonic pickaxes, chisels, and other tools of labor, piling them high before setting them ablaze. Flames crackled and roared, licking the darkness with an almost sentient hunger. The fire was more than an act of destruction. It was a declaration. Fueled by their collective rage, they turned their eyes toward Enlil's grand residence. The ground trembled beneath their advance. The air was thick with smoke and the scent of smoldering metal. Onward they went, toward the abode of their overlord, toward the one who had decreed their suffering. They would no longer beg. They would no longer plead. Tonight they would demand to be heard. "Come," they said, "let us confront our chamberlain and get him to relieve us of our hard work. Come, let us carry the Lord Enlil, the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling inside his residential abode. Let us mix fight with battle," roared the workforce. They set fire to their tools, put aside their space for fire, their loads ready for Lord Enlil. They flared when they reached the gate of Enlil's dwelling. It was night, the middle watch. The house was surrounded. The extraterrestrial lord had not realized it was night. His abode was surrounded. Enlil slept in the cool depths of his chamber, oblivious to the growing unrest outside. His breathing was deep and steady, his mind adrift in the dreamscape, far from the concerns of the waking world. But outside, the voices of the oppressed Igigi gathered like a storm. Kalkal, the ever-watchful gatekeeper, was the first to sense the coming danger. He stood at his post, gripping his staff, his keen eyes scanning the darkness beyond the perimeter of Enlil's dwelling. Then, like ghosts rising from the shadows, they came. A horde of Anunnaki workers, their faces hardened by labor and illuminated by the firelight, approached in grim silence. Their voices, though not yet raised, carried the weight of rage and madness. Kalkal stiffened. He turned swiftly and barred the entrance to the gates, then rushed into the corridors of the dwelling. His feet barely made a sound against the polished stone as he moved with urgency toward Nusku's chambers. Nusku, Enlil's trusted advisor, lay in light slumber, ever attuned to the shifting energies of the realm. The sudden, sharp knock at his door jolted him awake. "My lord Nusku," Kalkal's voice came through, breathless and urgent. "The Anunnaki workers have gathered. They come with fire. They come in protest." Nusku rose at once, throwing on his robes. He did not question Kalkal's words, for the fear in his voice spoke volumes. Without delay, Nusku strode through the halls, his footsteps echoing as he reached Enlil's chambers. Inside, Enlil still lay in deep sleep, his brow furrowed slightly, as if in the throes of a distant vision. Nusku hesitated only for a moment before he stepped forward, his voice low but firm. My lord, he called. Enlil did not stir. A third time Nusku spoke, louder now, but still, the Lord of Command remained lost in slumber. The sounds from outside were growing, low murmurs, the distant crackle of burning wood, the shifting of restless bodies. Nusku's heart quickened. He reached out, gripping Enlil's shoulder and shaking him gently at first, then with greater force. "My lord, wake at once." Enlil groaned, his consciousness clawing its way back from the depths of sleep. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused and drowsy, his mind still caught in the haze of slumber. "What is this?" he muttered, his voice thick with sleep. Nusku did not waste a moment. "My lord, we are surrounded," he said urgently. "The Anunnaki workers are at your doorstep. They rise against the burden of their labor." Enlil's eyes snapped open. The weight of command fell upon him instantly, his exhaustion vanishing like mist in the morning light. He sat up sharply, the fabric of his robes rustling as he swung his feet onto the ground. His gaze locked onto Nusku's, seeking confirmation. Without hesitation, Nusku secured his chambers, took up his weapons, and positioned himself in front of Enlil. Yet, his concern was evident. He observed his lord's pale face and spoke with unease. "Oh, my lord, your face is sallow as tamarisk. Why do you fear your own sons?" Enlil swiftly activated the surveillance system in his chamber. Large crystal screens flickered to life, displaying real-time images of the angry workers outside. Their faces, worn and defiant, were illuminated by the fires of their revolt. Without hesitation, Enlil pressed his palm against the intercom panel, a sleek black device glowing with golden symbols. His voice echoed through hidden speakers at the gate. "Who has done this?" Enlil demanded. "Who has incited such hostility?" From outside, a voice rang out, cutting through the night like the crack of a whip. "We have all done this. We refuse to bear this weight any longer." The words were not from a single mouth, but from many, a chorus of voices unified in defiance. Enlil rose swiftly, crossing the chamber in a few long strides. He moved toward the entrance, but Kalkal barred his way. "Is it against me that they have risen? Shall I do battle?" said the Lord Enlil. "My lord, it is not safe," said Nusku. For a moment, Enlil considered pushing past him, but he knew Kalkal spoke wisely. The fire of rebellion was unpredictable. Instead, he turned to Nusku. "Summon the King Anu, my brother Enki, and my son Ninurta," he ordered. "I want to know how this came to pass." Without hesitation, Nusku activated the prompter device, sending an urgent summons. Within moments, the image projections of Anu, Enki, and Ninurta flickered into view, his face calm yet grave. Beside him, Ninurta stood ready. "What is happening?" Anu asked, his voice carrying the weight of foresight. Enlil, now fully alert, ran a hand through his unkempt hair. His tone was sharp, his patience fraying. "My king, there is a rebellion at our gates near the Abzu." Anu then said, "Who has started this?" Ninurta answered, his voice steady and resolute. "No one started it, father and grandfather. They have all risen as one against us." For the first time, Enlil fell silent. This was no mere insurrection led by a few dissenters. This was something far greater. The realization settled upon him like a heavy stone. Outside, the voices of the workers did not cease. The night stretched on, thick with tension, as the fate of the mines, and perhaps of the Anunnaki Council themselves, hung in the balance. "We need the gold," Anu, the supreme ruler of Nibiru, stated. "The work cannot stop." "The Igigi workforce has no reason to rebel against me," said Enlil. But Enki, who had long pondered the condition of those laboring beneath the earth, spoke with measured wisdom. "The rebellion is not against you, brother," he said. "It is against the work itself. We have made this toil unbearable, and now they resist not out of defiance, but out of necessity." Enki, once freed from his captors, confirmed their suffering. Since the heat on Earth and Mars has increased, the labor has grown intolerable. No rest, no relief, only ceaseless toil. Ninurta, ever the strategist, offered a solution. "Let the rebels return to Nibiru. Let them be replaced by others more suited to this task." But Enlil was not convinced. He turned to Enki. "Is there no other way? Can we not create new tools to spare them the agony of the tunnels?" Enki, deep in thought, weighed the possibilities. "Tools alone will not be enough," he admitted at last. Then, after a pause, his eyes gleamed with revelation. "Summon my son, Ningish-Zida. He is wise in the ways of life itself." When Ningish-Zida arrived, he listened as Enki shared his idea. The words that followed would mark the beginning of a new chapter in history on Earth. "There is another way," Enki declared, "a being, a worker, one born to carry the burdens that have become too great for the Anunnaki. A primitive laborer. Lulu shall be its name. Let us genetically modify and fashion it, and upon its shoulders the weight of this toil shall rest." If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Astral Legends for more ancient myths and astral adventures. We'd also like to emphasize that, just like humanity, extraterrestrial beings of any dimension or plane can exhibit a spectrum of good or evil. And all living beings have the power and strength of the Creator of all within them. May the eternal light guide your path. See you on the next episode.